This is a MIDI controller. So is this, and this, and this. I might have too many of these. Nah. The thing all these devices have in common is that they don't produce sound on their own. They connect to some other device using USB or 5-pin MIDI cables. Something like a computer running software instruments, or maybe a rack-mounted sound module, or a drum machine, or even another keyboard synthesizer with its own onboard sounds. The purpose of MIDI controllers is so that you can have the controls you want without them being tied to specific sounds. However, an electronic instrument like a keyboard synthesizer is really just a MIDI controller with a computer built into it running software instruments. I'm Bill Peterson, aka The White Tornado, and I'm here for Geek Funk Labs to tell you about the latest version of the code I wrote that will let you put together a synthesizer that is easy to play and that you can even perform with using just your favorite MIDI controller and a Raspberry Pi with no extra stuff attached. You don't need a screen or a keyboard to control it. You just plug it in and it will boot straight into the synthesizer, and then everything is run from your MIDI controller. Let me show you how it works. Setting up to play is simple. Just plug your MIDI controller into one of the USB ports, connect a cable from the headphone jack to your amp or mixer. Here I recommend using one of the thinner 1/8 inch headphone or auxiliary cables rather than a headphone to 1/4 inch adapter, just to keep from putting too much strain on the Pi's headphone jack. Finally, power up your Raspberry Pi. You'll see a lot of flickering LEDs as the system boots up, and then once the software starts, it will co-opt those LEDs to give you some visual feedback. The green activity LED blinks 5 times in a row to let you know the synth is ready to play. You can use 2 of the buttons or pads on your controller to go to the next or previous instrument. When you change instruments, the green LED on the Pi blinks once to let you know. The instruments in this synthesizer are called patches. The software comes with a bunch of default patches, and you can also create your own and even add additional sounds. You can also change patches using one of the knobs on your controller. The way the buttons work is that I've programmed them using the software that came with my MIDI controller to send specific control change messages that the synthesizer is listening for. You can modify these control change numbers in the software as well, and I'll show you how to do that when we set it up. The patches are stored in bank files, which are simple text files that you can edit. You can have as many patches in a bank and as many bank files as you want. One of the buttons can be assigned to switch to your next bank file in alphabetical order. The green LED illuminates while the sounds for the next bank are loading. If the program encounters an error, the red LED will blink in a repeating sequence. 2 blinks is a problem with your config file, 3 a problem with your bank file, and 4 is a general error. This synthesizer uses sound fonts to produce music. Sound fonts are an open sample-based file format, and there are tons of them available on the internet, many for free. And as you can hear, some of the free ones sound pretty good. Once you're done playing and ready to tear down, you could just unplug the Raspberry Pi, but there is a possibility of corrupting your SD card. To do a safe shutdown, you can just hold down either one of the patch change buttons for 7 seconds. After 5 seconds, the red LED starts blinking to let you know you're about to shut down. The green LED will start flickering a lot as the system shuts down, and once it stops, it's safe to unplug the Raspberry Pi. Next, I'll show you how to install and set up the software. I created a simple install script that asks you a few questions and then will download and set up everything for you. It even provides a few optional extras. Your Pi needs to be connected to the internet in order to download the necessary software. If you're new to the Raspberry Pi and aren't sure how to do this, the Raspberry Pi Foundation's website, raspberrypi.org, is a good place to start if you're looking for tutorials. As you can maybe tell from the earlier segment of the video, I'm using a Raspberry Pi 3B Plus for this, but it will work on other versions of the Raspberry Pi as well. It also works on either a fresh install of the Raspberry Pi OS, and I recommend the light version, or you can try it out on a system you've been using for a while and it shouldn't affect the rest of your system. To run the install script remotely from our server, just log into your Pi and type in the command you see here.
The script will ask you some questions. The defaults are shown in square brackets. First is the install location. You can install somewhere else if you have things in your home directory. Fluid Patcher is the name of the software that I wrote to run this synthesizer interface. You can also run this script to update the software as I release new versions. If you're doing that, you can say no to this next question to avoid overwriting any bank files you've created or changed, but since this is a first-time install, it doesn't make a difference. Since we're using the Headless Raspberry Pi synth, you want to use the headphone jack as your audio source. And we'll set the system to run the Headless Pi script on startup, so the system will always boot to the synthesizer. If you ever want to turn this off, you could rerun this script and select nothing at this step. It's probably a good idea to upgrade your system software just to make sure everything runs smoothly. This takes care of the required stuff. Now for some optional extras. The core software that handles the sound fonts is called FluidSynth, and the standard version on Raspberry Pi is FluidSynth 1. This will work, but you'll be missing out on some of the great features in FluidSynth 2, like the ability to add external effects, portamento, and lots of bug fixes. I think the only reason FluidSynth 2 isn't the standard version is that some of the software it depends on hasn't been completely tested on the Pi, but I've never had any problems with FluidSynth 2 itself. So I'd recommend saying yes to compile and install the latest version. Next, you have the option to install a web-based file manager. This gives you an easy way to download new sound fonts to your synthesizer and to edit the patches, banks, and configuration files. You can make up your own username and password for the file manager. You don't have to use the one I'm typing here. Finally, the basic version of the synthesizer comes with a few sound fonts, one of which is a general MIDI sound font that has a wide range of instruments that cover a bunch of different genres. But I've also put together a collection of free sound fonts that I think are a bit higher quality and just gives you a wider range to choose from. So if you want to give those a try, you can download them here. Now that you've chosen all the options, you can say yes to proceed, and everything will happen automatically without any further interaction from you. Depending on how much you said yes to and your internet connection, this could take 2 minutes or 20 minutes, so coffee might definitely be a good idea. The installer will let you know what step it's on, so you have an idea how much longer you have to wait. Once the script has finished its tasks, it'll ask you to reboot if it needs to. But before the patch change buttons and so forth will work, you have to set them up for your specific MIDI controller. So let's do that now by editing the Headless Pi script. The values at the top of this file set the MIDI channel and continuous controller messages that the script listens for. The increment, patch, and bank controls should be momentary values, like those sent by a button or pad. The select patch control should be a knob or a slider, something that sends a value based on its position. That position gets mapped to a patch number by the script. You can change the values in this file or reprogram your controller. You don't have to have a control for each of these functions either. You could leave out select patch, for example. Save this file, reboot your Pi, and you're ready to play. This web-based file manager I mentioned earlier provides an easy way to load additional sound fonts onto the Raspberry Pi and to edit the patches and banks in the synthesizer. Open a web browser on another computer or a phone and go to the IP address of the Raspberry Pi. You'll see this login screen where you can enter the username and password you created during the install process. In the home directory of the file manager, you can see the main configuration file of the synthesizer and the directories where the banks and sound fonts are stored. To upload additional sound fonts, click the upload link in the upper right-hand corner, and then you can just drag the files into the rectangle or click on it to get a file browser. If you click on one of the bank or configuration files, you can edit it to make changes. GeekFunkLabs.com has information and links to our GitHub and wikis describing the format of the bank files, and I've also created a series of videos that teach you how to write patches and bank files to assemble the perfect sets of sounds and effects for your needs. If you make changes to a bank file and save it, you won't hear the changes until you reload the bank on the synthesizer, so you can just press the bank increment button a few times until you scroll back around to that bank.
The code for this Headless Raspberry Pi synthesizer came from another project of mine called the SquishBox, which is basically the same thing but built into an effects pedal type enclosure with a couple of buttons and a screen to show you what patch is playing and provide some menus for settings. I wanted a sound module that I could use to play live with MIDI controllers, specifically the keytar, that was inexpensive and simple and also customizable. And it seemed like the best way to do that was to make one myself. Then I realized that I could write a version of that same code that would work on just a plain Raspberry Pi without all the extra stuff. And I thought it would be good to share with people, both to give them a chance to try it out, but also to provide people with a DIY electronic instrument that's easy to set up that I think is actually good to perform with. The advantages of the SquishBox over the Headless Raspberry Pi synth are the dedicated buttons and the screen, but also it has an add-on sound card that has a little bit better quality than the headphone jack on the Raspberry Pi, but also has much lower audio latency. Now, latency is the time delay between you pressing a key and hearing a note. On the Headless Raspberry Pi synth, the latency is about 7 to 10 milliseconds, which is pretty good, but you might feel it, especially if you're playing fast. On the SquishBox, the latency is less than a millisecond, so you won't notice it at all. I have SquishBox kits for sale, as well as fully assembled units in my Tindy store, and I've also posted complete plans for building one from scratch using standard parts on Hackaday. You can find links to both of these in the video description. Well, that's all I've got. I hope you try out the Headless Raspberry Pi synth and that it's fun and useful for you. I would love to see some videos of a performance where someone in the band, maybe the keyboard player, just sets down a Raspberry Pi on top of their amp, plugs it in, and starts shredding. So, challenge set. If you have any questions or feedback, feel free to hit me up in the comments or visit geekfunklabs.com and stay funky. Feel free to hit me up in the comments or visit geekfunklabs.com. or visit geekfunklabs.com and stay funky. Other than that, stay until then, stay fail. Until then, stay okay. Stay funky. Until then, stay funky. Stay funky. Can I help you? Does someone need to go on a walk?